Hello everyone, today we have a massive show for you today. We got the family separation stuff today. We're going to talk about the family separation policy finally ending. We're talking about Pramila Jayapal's reaction to it. Some of the Democrats who paved the way for the family separation crisis. Some of the abhorrent reactions followed by the Republicans proving they are dogs and animals not worthy of existence on this earth. We'll talk about lies from Christian Nielsen, the DHS lashing out at airlines, saying they won't transport kids separated from their families, protesters forcing ICE to shut down their Portland facility. We'll tell you Stephen Miller's actual personal phone number. Oh, well, until this morning. DSA ruined Christian Nielsen's dinner at a D.C. restaurant. Michael Bloomberg threw his support, $80 million of support behind the Democrats at the midterms. And we'll talk about Joe Crowley. And finally, Scott Pruitt has spent a total of $4.6 million on security. New disclosures show, including $1,500 on tactical pants. We'll get into that last today, if I can stand to make it through the entire show. Because it's a real possibility here. Will I be able to make it through the entire show? I do not know. I might have to cut the stories. You know what? We're not talking about Michael Bloomberg today, because screw Michael Bloomberg. We have too much to do. Very busy show. We've been off since June 6th, and I thought I could not host possibly a news podcast and not tell you about the news that's going on right now because it's so important. It is abhorrent. It is disgusting, and we need to get right into it. So, we got a busy one, and this reminds me of just under a year ago when I was sitting in this very same spot that I'm sitting right now talking about Charlottesville and President Trump's lack of condemnation for it. That's the same way I'm feeling like today because, we have a massive show. Anyway, so President Trump caved to enormous political pressure on Wednesday and signed an executive order meant to end the separation of families at the border by detaining parents and children for an indefinite period. We're going to have very strong borders, but we're going to keep families together, Trump said as he signed the order into the Oval Office. I didn't like the sight or the feeling of families being separated. I really don't think anyone does, except for like Stephen Miller, because we all know he's the lowest of the low. But Justice Department officials said it was not clear whether the practice separating families could resume 20 days after if a federal judge refuses to give the government authority if it wants to hold families together for a longer period, which would be pretty nice. We would not like to see any of that. A Health and Human Services official said that more than 2,300 children who've already been separated from their parents under the president's zero-tolerance policy will not immediately be reunited with their families while the adults remain in federal custody during their immigration proceedings. So there will not be a grandfathering of cases. Kenneth Wolf, a spokesman for the Administration for Children and Families Division of the Health and Human Services Department, said Mr. Wolf, said the decision was made by the White House, but he added, I can tell you definitively that's going to be our policy, so no more separation of family cases, which is a big deal. The president signed the executive order days after he said the only way to end the division of families was through congressional action because you can't do it through an executive order. Oh, wait a minute. Some people got mad at you. You think, like, the whole country hated it. The left got more energized than they have been since I've ever seen them. Because this is like the Charlottesville outrage for a whole week. Like, you're slowly torturing and killing them here. And they are not, they're not taking it. They're not taking it very well. They're not taking it anymore. And this is very, very good. Stories of children being taken by their parents, audio of wailing toddlers, and images of teenagers in cage-like detention facilities had exploded into a full-blown political crisis for Trump and congressional Republicans who are desperate for a response to those who have called the practice inhumane, cruel, and evil. They cannot stop. They could not stop this whole situation. And They just seem to be so addicted to doing it. It's incredible. The president's 4-page Order says the officials will continue to criminally prosecute everyone who crosses the border illegally, but will seek to find or build facilities that can hold families, parents, and children together, instead of separating them while their legal cases are considered by courts. But the action raised new questions that the White House official did not immediately answer. The order does not say where families will be detained, and it does not say whether children will continue to be separated from their parents while the facilities to hold them are located or built. So pretty much the point is we're going to have to spend money, still more money, taxpayer dollars. This administration is literally sucking the entire nation dry here, both emotionally and financially, because of all these monstrosities they're building. Like we're paying for Scott Pruitt's tactical plans, and we're paying for rebuilding of we're paying for the rebuilding of these different facilities here. It's to hold more illegal immigrants. It's just again and again and again. It's more taxpayer screwing here. Not to mention, like, I'm not complaining, but like neither should any taxpayer in America be. But because of the hell the people down in Texas and down our southern border are going through, because this is just some disgraceful, despicable stuff, and it deserves to be condemned, deserves to be punished, because this is some of the worst stuff I've ever seen in my time alive. So and it really makes you wonder. It makes you take back this. Take a look at this practice and say, like, this story just keeps getting worse. It had the incredible ability. Just when you thought it could not get any worse, it somehow found a way to get worse. Because first we thought, oh my gosh, they're separating kids away from their families. Oh my gosh, they're still doing it. Oh my gosh, they're lying about it. Oh my gosh, there's a new audio tape. It sounds awful. Oh my gosh, and this is pretty much the final straw at this point. This was last night. It literally brought Rachel Maddow to tears. Last night, the fact that yes, there has been there's no age limit. There's no age limit for these for the people to be separated by their for people. They're going to separate infants from the family. They're going to separate 8 months old from the families and put them in quote unquote tender age prisons. And then there's been reactions. Laura Ingraham, for example, calling this just like summer camp, pretty much. And if you want your kids, like, these people are let out of their house 2 hour, let out of the warehouse they're stacked in with little cages. They're let out of the cage, let out to see the sunlight for 2 hours. So 22 hours they have to be inside that cage while this whole situation goes on. Like, these people who are putting Christian Nielsen, man, just put her in jail. I swear to God, this is some abhorrent stuff. Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, this is pretty much my reaction to this entire situation here. And yeah, we're going to be there. We're going to be covering it. We're going to take you through the next probably hour or so with this news here. And so, yeah, finally it's over. We can say that it is finally over. But the rapt attention of the media, who've gotten their cameras all down to the border, it should not go away, because this administration cannot be trusted to handle this humanely. It cannot be trusted to handle this humanely. Even, I don't care if they're separating families. I don't care if they're putting them in and bring them all together. I don't care if they stop doing that. I do not care if they stop separating families. They cannot be trusted to carry that situation out. There's going to be some problematic thing that they've done that will be present throughout this whole entire situation. Whether it's something Stephen Miller's done, something ICE has done. And by the way, Kamala Harris can't even say that she wants to abolish ICE, which, by the way, after what we've seen, should be a no-brainer. Literally a no-brainer. Should be the easiest thing in the world. But still, there is There is no sign yet. So yeah, there's undocumented immigrants. They've been detained and they've been caught, and yeah. So it's been a rough situation throughout the past 5 days. Big credit to the media who's been there. They've reacted. They've scoffed. They haven't held back on this one. So it's very important. It's very important that we see this the way it is. All right. So yeah, and this we cannot forget here. We really cannot forget. There is still some major problems from the Democrats. I mean, the Democrats aren't out of the woods with this. So yeah, some might say the calling out of Democrats on immigration is not productive at this moment, but when the Trump administration is falsely claiming that they're responsible for the laws that permit families being torn apart. In fact, the family separation policy was implemented entirely by the Trump administration. Yeah, and for all the conservatives out there, and we'll be getting the story a little bit more based on what Kirstjen Nielsen said, whatever the hell her name is. Yeah, she says, "Oh yeah, well, we're just following the law." There is no law. Say it with me. There is no law that that enables you to separate these families at the border. There is absolutely no law. Yeah. So it's undeniable that the Trump administration policy, which is now reportedly being modified, is an extension of family detention policies carried out by previous administrations, including Democratic ones. Once you get Americans publicly to swallow the concept of locking up mothers and their kids, getting Americans accustomed to separating families becomes an easier task. Cecilia Munoz, who is President Obama's top domestic policy advisor, admitted to the New York Times this week that when the Obama administration was opening family detention centers in 2014, they considered separating parents from their children. We spent 5 minutes thinking about it and concluded it was a bad idea. Munoz told the Times the Obama administration instead opted to expand family detention. Munoz's admission easily connects the dots between the detention of families to the separation of families while simultaneously trying to create the same type of moral relativism. The people who paved the way for these policies know what they did, and they just have to figure out how to undo it. At this point, these officials just can't tweet about their outrage. They need to acknowledge they set the groundwork for this. It's time for people like Munoz to apologize, start fundraising, and get their stuff out there. And they need to strategize how to dismantle the shit, frankly. They got us in. Some civil disobedience wouldn't hurt either. I mean, we got even granted Joe Crowley. He's one of the most entrenched representatives. One of the most entrenched representatives out there in New York. And he is coming out there and he's like, you know what? I'm going to do some civil disobedience, and he passes out. But still, yeah, you got to give him credit for being out there. I guess that's all you can ask for, right? But still, we're going to get now to some of these people who are guilty of this and setting the groundwork for these tearing of the families apart. So yeah, Bill Clinton's going to be one of them. He signed a law in 1996 that transformed how the U.S. enforced immigration laws. The Legal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act expanded a list of crimes dubbed aggravated felonies that can make an undocumented immigrant automatically deportable. Many of these offenses on the list are neither aggravated nor felonies. Yeah, so that's kind of a BS situation that increases the unnecessary deportation of these immigrants. That added to the concept. The point I'm trying to make here, and this is a Splinter report, by the way. The point is, it's not like these people are responsible with family separation policy, but they've laid the groundwork. They built up the country's appetite. They built up the country's tolerance for doing cruel, inhumane things to immigrants. And that is the situation where we find ourselves in today, where we have this same old thing. This same old time-honored tradition of doing this to immigrants, and that's where we are. That's where we're at today. And that's a contribution to that. So yeah, and there's very little that undocumented immigrants found guilty of an aggravated felony can do to fight their deportation, because they can be deported without a formal hearing from an immigration judge. When Clinton signed the IIRIA, in 1996, there were 69,680 deportations the same year. By the time he left office in 2001, the annual rate has spiked to 189,000. So, yeah, I mean, he enabled this. He enabled through the fraudulent aggravated felony